Hey there everyone, this is Michael Dougal, the nootropic reviewer, and I'm going to do a product review of ashwagandha, which is a very popular herbal nootropic supplement specifically used for stress, anxiety, and helping a lot of people to actually achieve higher levels of productivity while at the same time actually improving body composition. And I've been using ashwagandha for over 8 years now, and I can share with you that there are definitely pros, there are definitely cons. I'm going to share the benefits that I've personally experienced, some of the research behind ashwagandha, the different ways you can use ashwagandha, and of course the side effects, which are very, very strong for a lot of people. I initially came across ashwagandha because I was working very hard and, like everyone else, wanting to be more efficient while relieving stress at the same time. And I had read a lot of great things about ashwagandha. What definitely caught my attention was the fact that it could potentially help with productivity and at the same time not have many side effects. Because as we know, with a lot of supplements out there, the stronger they are, the worse the side effects seem to be. And with ashwagandha, people didn't report feeling withdrawals with them. It also seemed that like negative reactions to it were pretty rare to come by. And so I started using ashwagandha, and what I had noticed was I was definitely in a better mood. Now, what I mean by that is when stressful experiences happen, it wasn't as if I was quickly to get in like that flight or flight response that a lot of people get into where they really can't think rationally. So I found myself calmer all the time. And for me, I felt that pretty quickly. Whereas a lot of people, they have to use ashwagandha for like 7 to 10 days for it to really start working for them. If you're unfamiliar with ashwagandha, it's an evergreen shrub that's grown in different places across the world, such as Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. And what it's commonly used for is for relieving stress. It's a, you could say, proven herbal supplement because it's been used for centuries. And just recently, people have thought of ashwagandha to be a nootropic supplement, whereas in the past, it was used for things like erectile dysfunction. It was used for things like better controlling cortisol levels. Its other name is Withania somnifera, which is a term you'll probably see in a lot of studies out there on ashwagandha. This paper over here describes ashwagandha to be commonly known as Indian winter cherry or Indian ginseng. It improves the function of the reproductive system, promoting a healthy sexual and reproductive balance. Being a powerful adaptogen, it enhances the body's resilience to stress. And there's no question about the fact that ashwagandha is a very powerful adaptogen. Adaptogen meaning a supplement that will better help you to tolerate stress. See, when you experience a stressor, there are different phases that you experience. Like number one, you go through this like alarm phase. The second stage is when you're experiencing resistance, and that's when your body is actually attempting to go back to the state it was in prior to you experiencing the stressor. So you get a little bit calmer, your heart rate starts to slow down a little bit. But if the cause persists, then you're likely to go into the third phase, which is the phase of exhaustion. And that's when bad things happen, such as fatigue, such as you start to lose out on sleep, and some people even fall ill. So with ashwagandha, what happens is that first experience of stress that you're supposed to have, which is the alarm phase, you really don't feel as much of an alarm as you typically would, which is obviously nice because in the grand scheme of things, you're going to be a lot more productive when you're able to make rational decisions because we always experience stressors during the day. And I really like the fact that ashwagandha is a naturally occurring supplement. There's other supplements out there that are kind of like in that man-made category. Things like Adderall, of course, where I've talked about in this video over here different alternatives to Adderall because that is one supplement out there that people often use for productivity when they really shouldn't be, because there are natural practices you can use instead, because once you go on stimulants, you fall in this trap of just needing more stimulants. And with ashwagandha, it's herbal, yet at the same time, it can help you to be more productive as a result of relieving stress. It may not give you some of that focus that you might be looking for, but fortunately, there are other nootropics you can take alongside ashwagandha. In this well-conducted study over here, they took 64 participants that had issues with stress in the past, and they were taking 300 milligrams of ashwagandha twice a day, which is a fairly common dose. 300 milligrams twice a day, 500 milligrams twice a day, that's also pretty common. And during the checkpoints of day 15, day 30, and day 45, as well as a follow-up call, they had clearly determined both subjectively and objectively, looking at things like a cortisol test, that their levels of stress were a lot less. And one of my other favorite benefits of ashwagandha is that it really does help with sleep quality, because what happens is as a result of just feeling calmer throughout the day, you're far less likely to have racing thoughts, and I just find myself a little bit more relaxed as I get into bed. Now, where ashwagandha, I feel, is a little bit misunderstood is that it may help with body composition. I've not found that it has improved my testosterone levels by any means. I've talked about testosterone boosting supplements more so in this video over here, but that's one reason why a lot of people use ashwagandha. The mechanism of action in which ashwagandha may increase testosterone levels is a little bit misunderstood because of the fact that it's almost like ashwagandha may help you boost testosterone levels if you're somebody that's experiencing chronic stress, because the fact that ashwagandha, it actually decreases cortisol levels. Cortisol being a very interesting hormone, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's also a good thing to have a little bit of cortisol, of course, in the body, and you get a natural cortisol spike when you wake up. But when you have chronically high cortisol levels, that's when, of course, it can impair thyroid function. It can actually decrease testosterone levels quite significantly. So perhaps if you're somebody that does believe they have extremely high cortisol levels, you may benefit from a body composition perspective when using ashwagandha. But for me, I've been working out for a very long time because I actually was somewhat overweight when I grew up, so I had to lose that weight, and I've been using ashwagandha. I've actually even experienced going on TRT and then being off TRT, and I have not found ashwagandha has really done anything either to boost testosterone levels or to help me have a better physique. But hey, there's some people who say that ashwagandha really does boost their testosterone levels, or for example on Reddit over here, people even claim that ashwagandha is a good pre-workout supplement, whereas I would hate using ashwagandha pre-workout because I find that it somewhat relaxes me. When I want to hit a workout, I don't want to be relaxed at all. And the other way ashwagandha feels a little bit misunderstood is that it may help with cognition. It's not been my experience. I also haven't read about many experiences through reading comments on this channel that ashwagandha has helped people have a better memory or help them think in a different way or help them to better solve complex problems. It's more just like a supplement that may help you to relieve stress, improve your mood a little bit. But don't worry, if you're looking for a supplement that can do something like that, it's been my experience that lion's mane is probably the best nootropic supplement while at the same time being naturally occurring. I've talked about it in this video right here. Let's talk about the different forms of ashwagandha. There's a very important term you should know about, which are withanolides. So the higher withanolides content that you see in your ashwagandha product, the more relaxing it may be. So this is my favorite ashwagandha. It's called the KSM 66 extract. I find that this ashwagandha is like the perfect balance of making you somewhat energized while at the same time helping you to relieve stress. Whereas if I go a little bit higher on the withanolides content, like Shodan ashwagandha, that is way too relaxing for me. I would actually prefer using that before bed. Or you just may have the plain old ashwagandha root. That's okay, but the major issue people make is they underdose that ashwagandha, where they should be taking dosages of at least 1 gram a day. And of course, depending on the day, I'll take around 300 milligrams at 12 o'clock p.m. and then 300 milligrams again around 4 o'clock p.m. I don't like taking it first thing in the morning because, like I mentioned, it relaxes me, whereas in the morning, I want to hit a good workout, I want to be physically energetic, and I don't like ashwagandha specifically for that purpose. Some people like using ashwagandha first thing in the morning. Some people like using it before bed. I think the most important thing is that you're consistent with whichever ashwagandha regimen you choose to follow. Even if you just take it once during the day at like 500 milligrams, that's okay. But with ashwagandha, it has a fairly long half-life. So really, the ideal way you may want to take ashwagandha is something like once at 8 o'clock a.m. and then again at 8 o'clock p.m. But in a practical fashion, not a lot of people are going to stick to this protocol. So I prefer taking it like the way I'm using it, but ashwagandha, it's highly variable between individuals. I don't think it really matters that much when during the day you take it. Unfortunately, it also doesn't matter whether you take it in a fasted state or a fed state. There is no research done on this whatsoever. Some people think you need to take ashwagandha along with the meal. I take it in a fasted state most often. And now, the major side effect with ashwagandha seems to be demotivation, and that happens because ashwagandha, let's face it, it's a stress-relieving supplement. Most herbal supplements that are adaptogens, they have those same properties that you'll notice you're a little bit less ambitious. So with a lot of people, they notice they feel better when they start using ashwagandha. They're in a better mood, but at the end of the month, they kind of look at things objectively and they notice they're not putting in as much action. So it's critically important for you to actually monitor what you're doing. Like for me, I noticed that I was definitely thinking I was doing better when on paper, I noticed that sure, I had a bit less stress, but I wasn't making as much money or my grades weren't as good. So what you want to be doing, if that is an issue for you, like with a lot of people, then you want to be using ashwagandha along with a supplement that may in fact boost motivation levels. Things like caffeine, things like L-tyrosine, which I've talked about in this video over here, which actually raises dopamine levels, or Noopept, which is a very potent supplement which will allow you to kind of be sharp on your feet at all times and gives you like that tunnel vision focus for you to not focus on things which are less important. The other side effects, they're not as common. There are people that report feeling like an upset stomach. Some people get diarrhea. Some people get headaches, but demotivation is the major one you want to look out for. There have been many times when I had convinced myself I would be better off without ashwagandha, and so I would take it out of my stack and then I would put ashwagandha back in my stack. And trust for me that the pros do outweigh the cons. Yes, I may have a little bit less of a work ethic when I'm using ashwagandha, but I find that when I'm using ashwagandha, I'm more consistent with my work. I'm experiencing better like work-life balance, because at the end of the day, I don't feel like everything is such a grind. I feel like it's a little bit more fulfilling, and I'm able to more so see like the opportunities in every problem, because that's what will really make you productive. Is when you look at a problem or a stressor and you start to actually shift your perspective and think like, I'm very grateful for having this problem, which is a challenge right now, because it's going to help me be sharper and it's going to build my character during the process. And what's so great is despite using ashwagandha for all this time, even when I take time off it, I don't experience any negative withdrawals or any sort of bad side effects. So I'm pretty confident that I'm going to continue using ashwagandha moving forward. But you'd be surprised to know it would not fall in my top 5 nootropic supplements. I've talked about my top 5 in this video over here, which you'll likely find valuable. But what are your thoughts on on ashwagandha as a nootropic supplement. Make sure to comment below. Do subscribe and drop a like if you did get value from this video. And if you want to chat with me one-on-one, you can do so over on Patreon. And be sure to visit our Discord server, which has a 24/7 chat room. We're answering questions in a time-sensitive fashion, having a whole lot of fun. I thank you for your interest in nootropics, and I look forward to seeing you next time.